They're all right there. Somebody can.
Going in. They're all knocked down. Nice one. Good job. Dude. So here's a guide on how to consistently find small-scale PvP in ESO. If you're anything like me, then you absolutely hate PvPing in a Zerg. While there certainly is a lot of zerging in Cyrodiil, there's also a lot of small group PvP. You just need to know how to find it. So since I'm one of those people who hate zerging, I'm always looking for a new and better way to find small-scale PvP. Here are a few methods that work pretty well for me. So first, you need to know how to locate combat that's currently happening in Cyrodiil. When you pull up your map, if you see 2 or 3 crossed swords of different colors, that's where 2 different factions or 3 different factions are currently fighting. If those sword icons are on top of a keep or an outpost, like the ones I'm showing on my map currently are, then that's probably going to be a larger group of people, and you probably want to avoid that if you're looking for smaller scale PvP. However, you can use the knowledge that there's combat happening right there to your advantage in finding smaller scale PvP. For example, right now my friends and I are going to completely avoid this yellow-red conflict, and instead we're going to walk in between the yellow-red conflict and the yellow keep that's southwest of it. By doing that, we'll be able to find smaller groups of yellow members who are walking from their keep over to where this fighting is happening. So this method of finding small-scale PvP is extremely effective, and it's pretty much what me and my friends spend almost all our time doing. Now you won't always get lucky and find an even number of enemies to fight. However, if you find a smaller group of people, then you could always tell some of your friends to back off and you guys can do a 2v2 or 3v3 while the rest of your friends sit there and watch. Or, if you end up finding a much larger group, you could lay in hiding and wait for the majority of them to walk by, and then you can pick off the guys in the back and try and get an even number fight that way. So the next method of finding small-scale PvP in Cyrodiil is extremely similar to the first. However, if there is no conflict on the map, then you need to know a little bit about the objectives in Cyrodiil in order to find where the enemies are going to be coming from. In order for an emperor to be crowned, all 6 of the innermost keeps must be captured by one faction. So it's at these 6 innermost keeps where you're going to find the Zergs. So if you don't see any conflict on the map, you still know that there's going to be some kind of conflict going on in between 2 of these keeps that are owned by different factions. So if your map looked like this, I would recommend traveling to these locations to try and pick off people who are traveling in between the 2 keeps and trickling behind the Zerg. All other locations, even though they might be in between 2 keeps owned by opposing factions, probably won't have nearly as much flow of enemy players traveling between them. Another good way to find some small-scale PvP is to camp out at one of the choke points across the map. A choke point is any gate or bridge that's essentially going to bottleneck the enemy as they try to come through it. There are many different choke points across the map in Cyrodiil, however the better ones to camp if you're looking for some small-scale PvP are going to be the ones that are in between 2 keeps owned by opposing factions. Are you catching the trend yet? Also, the gates that are right up close to where a faction spawns, they're kind of their home base, I guess you would call it. Those gates, while they don't open unless the keep right next to them is captured by another enemy, those are some excellent places to find some small-scale PvP. If those gates are ever open and you have a group of about 5, then I highly recommend you guys go to those gates and try and catch the enemy as they come out of them. Or if you want, you could go into the gate and go over to where they spawn, and then you might be able to get some good PvP there. It's kind of hit or miss for me sometimes. Another thing you can do is you can actually whisper people in enemy factions in Cyrodiil. All you have to do is type /W, type their name, and then right after their name you need to type a comma. That'll terminate their name, and then you'll be able to talk to them even if they're in an enemy faction. So you may have the least amount of luck with this one, but if you end up finding someone who is willing to coordinate some small-scale PvP, 1v1, 2v2s, or even 5v5s or whatever, if you're willing to find someone like that and you end up finding someone like that, then it can be worth it. The last method that I wanted to show you guys was how my friends and I make small-scale PvP come to us by sieging a keep with a small party on a highly populated server. So I actually made a guide video to show you exactly how we do that, and this guide is getting too long already, so be sure to check out my next video to see what I consider to be the most fun way to get some small group PvP action in Cyrodiil. Thanks for watching, and please comment with your suggestions and other methods of finding small-scale PvP. Oh, and if you're looking for a guild that loves small-scale PvP, check the description and PM me in-game to learn more about our guild.